Number of extrinsic factors, obviously some of the fitness testing and so on is tied to remuneration. Some players found seasonal factors had a big impact. Our two best trainers found that the best time for them to be motivated for training was pre-season, because there weren't other distractions. The two worst trainers found that pre-season was the hardest time, because there wasn't the support or other people around them to help push them or force them to have to train. Right? So it can be helpful or sometimes a hindrance. And as you might expect, if you're not getting a lot of game time, if you're not being chosen, if your training isn't paying off with actually playing, it's very hard to stay motivated. For some players, if they didn't make the starting 15 or the 22, including the reserves, they lost a lot of motivation for training. For some other people, it was the opposite. I haven't made the team, I'm going to train harder to show the coach that he should have blown well picked me. So it varies on the person. Commitment issues, commitment is basically motivation over time. How much of time, money, investment, self-esteem have they invested in being good at rugby? That influenced their training. Did they have other lifestyle alternatives? So if rugby was the only thing in their lives, sometimes that became a real burden, because I'm really not enjoying or getting any fun or experience out of something that is the only thing I have in my life. That can be very frustrating. For those people who had some other alternatives, like education or other part-time work, they were able to balance their lives to some extent. And obligation or loyalty for some players was a real positive. I have to train hard so I don't let my teammates down. For some of them, they found it a real burden of only training because of my teammates. Felt like they're being forced to do it rather than they wanted to do it. So overall, training ethic and life skills are very important. Large focus, as you probably see, on task and intrinsic motivation. Time management, as I mentioned, is a big one. Team environment. Multiple factors, like most things in motivation. There is no simple, easy, straightforward one answer to how people should be motivated. Alright, final study. So this is burnout in rugby. I think I said in the intro, burnout thankfully is not a major problem in terms of how frequent or common it is. Across research survey done by some folks in Sweden about this, they concluded across a range of studies the frequency of burnout in elite sport is only about 10 to 15%, which is not high, thankfully. But if you are a person suffering from burnout, the consequences are pretty substantial. This was done with two of my colleagues. Chris Lonsdale is now in Western Sydney and we conducted the study. He was in Hong Kong. And Johan Ning is now a PhD student in Birmingham, but he was a master's student in Hong Kong when we started this study. Is burnout a problem? This is a personal friend of mine, Anton Oliver, who was captain of the All Blacks and played for the same rugby club that I coached when I taught him as a student. He gave me permission to use this quote. This is a person who was in the All Blacks, paid very, very well, but he was burnt out. So money isn't the issue here. I didn't want to play. No desire to play whatsoever. I didn't want to turn up. I'd be sitting there, what am I doing here? It's a beautiful day, I could be out. I started thinking about other things I could be doing in my life, is what I went on to say. Thinking about travelling overseas. I found I was getting quite tired again. I was physically knackered, exhausted. I turned up to play and be exhausted in the warm-up. This is a very motivated, very successful, very competent player, being honest enough to say, I've been on this rugby treadmill of elite rugby for 10 years now and I'm getting burnt out. And he was really frustrated with himself that he was burnt out. Alright, so back to the self-determination theory. What are the social factors that may have influenced these things, which influence that, which may lead to burnout? Burnout, if you're not familiar, this whole idea of athlete burnout has been popularised by Tom Radicki and Al Smith in the United States. 3 dimensions of athlete burnout: mental and physical exhaustion, reduced sense of accomplishment, and sport feeling devalued. So I'll quickly define those. Emotional and physical exhaustion, I'll come back to that in a moment. That might be a problem, in fact, physical is included. Because burnout isn't physical overtraining, it is mental or psychological burnout that we're referring to here. So sport devaluation is the feelings of cynicism and detachment from the sport. And that quote I just showed you from Anton Oliver really highlights his feelings of cynicism. And a reduced sense of accomplishment. You don't feel that you're as effective or you're accomplishing or achieving as much as you have in the past. So we're interested in how do we predict this from a motivational viewpoint to further from that, how can we prevent it? So we're interested in the self-determination basic needs, could we predict high versus low burnout folks? So we looked at rugby players' perceptions of need satisfaction, predicting their level of athlete burnout. We predicted that those players who reported high levels of burnout would report lower levels of need satisfaction. So low need satisfaction, high burnout, and of course vice versa. And we were also interested in 3 needs. Was one or more of them more important? So quantitative study, these were pre-elite or junior elite rugby players in New Zealand. They're all in player development, 13 player development academies across New Zealand, junior elite. Almost 60% of them played for New Zealand at some level of age group rugby. So they're a very elite group of players, and we used a number of motivational questionnaires to get this data. So I won't go through the detailed statistics, but the gist of it, if you understand canonical correlations, is what these statistics here. I've highlighted the ones. So criterion variables are the things you're trying to predict. Predictive variables are the things you're trying to predict these variables with. So if we go here first, we have the 3 basic needs. We're trying to use them to predict levels of burnout, autonomy, and competence. 0.84, 0.76 were powerful predictors of levels of burnout. Relatedness, not so much. So those 2 needs seem more important than relatedness when it comes to predicting burnout. In terms of predicting burnout itself, very little success predicting exhaustion. I'll guess why that is the case in a moment. But evaluation, pretty good. Reduced sense of accomplishment, very high. So these variables did predict those. As I mentioned, we're interested in high and low, so we created a high burnout group with some cut-off criteria and a low burnout group, and I won't go through all these numbers, but the next slide I've highlighted the important ones. So the high burnout group, their mean for competence was substantially lower than the low burnout group. Same with autonomy. So those people who were almost no burnout at all were high in their perceptions of those basic needs. So you see your basic needs are being satisfied. It seems to be a very powerful prevention mechanism, if you like, for burnout. So relatedness was a low to moderate at best predictor, whereas autonomy and competence were strong predictors of those 2 symptoms of burnout. Exhaustion didn't seem to be particularly related. We think it may be confounded with physiological issues because the questionnaire asks questions about physical as well as emotional exhaustion. We think that's a problem with the questionnaire. So, conclusions. We satisfy needs, we increase intrinsic motivation, we decrease burnout. We decrease burnout, we increase our chances of success in having happy campers. So, what do I cover in 30 minutes? Task orientation, intrinsic motivation, powerful impact on decreasing burnout, increasing training motivation, and we get better performance. Thank you very much for your time. Now, those who came in late, we started a wee bit late, so we still have 5 minutes for questions. Questions? Yes?
Hi again. My name's Ben. I work with Chris at Western Sydney Uni now.
Oh, good.
Which is great to see we've got included up there in the study. I just wanted to ask the female that came in with all the expletives to start off her research. Was that research carried out with males or females?
Yes, it was. It was a professional male rugby team, yes.
Okay. So she was training as an elite rugby player herself, but wanted to do the research with the males.
She didn't initially want to do. She wasn't particularly interested in either gender in terms. She was just really curious. Her experience was that some of my teammates don't train. So what's going on there?
Yeah.
So when we started thinking about, well, who and where could we do the study, I had contacts with the professional rugby team, and she knew some of the players who had been fellow university students. So it was an opportunity, and the professional rugby team was interested too because they thought it was going to be really practical, and the fitness trainer since has used our results, changed extensively some of the way that they organise their training.
It's a really unique group that you're working with in specifying rugby, which is great. Have you done much research in the women's rugby game?
No, I haven't myself, but we've got another study where we looked at playing while injured. What was the phrase that the student created? Beat the pain, play the game. He was interested in why do some people play when they've got fairly serious injuries, medically contraindicated, you should not play. And we included some female rugby players in that study. and they were no different in attitudes to the males. They clearly have been accepted the male focus of you've got to be tough. In fact, their bruises and broken legs and arms were badges of honour to them. So, right or wrong, good or bad, I think women that choose to play rugby tend to adopt a male focus or a motivational approach to it. Whether that's a good thing, I'm not so sure. But time for one more question. All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll shift gears now to Kaori Aki, who will